This is Stuart Harrison, aka Watchman X, for the Edge AM. The written version of this project has been released on Sherry Shriner's websites, but the audio will be found on the Edge AM. The shared vision of Joel and John, the locusts. A Locusts and Scorpions update. As many of you who have listened to my audios know, the Creator Father has had me working on the prophecy in Revelations chapter 9 for almost a year now. Here a little, there a little, he has imparted to my spirit an understanding of the various symbology and metaphors and what they really mean. In a recent project called Locusts and Scorpions, I gave a breakdown of many of the verses, and working with what was available to me at the time, I gave one suggestion as to the identity of these well-known characters in Revelations 9, the locusts. I believe I suggested that they could be martial law troops or reptilian shapeshifters, and that perhaps John was seeing things both in the physical and spiritual at the same time. Well, due to an important update on recently granted knowledge, and what I believe to be the final key in my understanding regarding this subject, I can now share with you all the full and true identity of these locusts. I have never read or heard anything that suggests what I am going to share in this audio, and so I believe this to be an exclusive and first ever revealing of their true identities. Not only that, but also for the first time you will hear proof that the book of Joel and his prophetic vision was almost exactly the same as John's in Revelation chapter 9. I will show you that they were indeed seeing the very same event within their separate visions. However, they are slightly different due to them both having different views of the said event. Joel received his vision whilst being upon the earth, and therefore seeing it from a ground level point of view, whilst John, we are told in Revelations 4 verse 1, was shown the event from above in the heavenlies. The KJV version reads, "After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee the things which must be hereafter." And so it is clear from this that John was seeing the event from above, and therefore looking down on these events. This will not be a quick or short audio, so I suggest getting your munchies and settling in for the duration, as well as having the book of Joel and Revelations chapter 9 at hand. To quote Cypher from The Matrix, buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye. Having a memory of the Locusts and Scorpions audio will also be very helpful, as many things were explained in that audio. If you have not heard it, I strongly advise listening to that study first, and preferably reading the written version on Sherry Shriner's website, as that was updated from the audio. The audio can be found on the EdgeTube at this address, ebnlive.net/edgetube/search, and then type in the words Locusts and Scorpions. Also on Sherry Shriner's website in both audio and written formats. Making this a joint study for everyone is the best way to go through this, and I will start in the book of Joel, chapter 1. Verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, you old men, and give ear, all you inhabitants of the land. In other words, this isn't just some average prophecy, folks. This is hugely important, and everyone on earth needs to hear this. Has this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. Or, you have heard tales like this before from your forefathers. Let this be told to everyone continuously, because it concerns people of a distant generation. Ours. Verse 4 mentions 4 types of insect, being the palmer worm, the locust, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar. I will explain these a bit later after identifying the locusts. Verse 5. Awake, you drunkards, and weep and howl, giving a sense of great dread and sorrow, especially to those who are spiritually asleep or docile. Verse 6. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number. This warns us of an invasion from a mighty and massive force, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. This correlates with Revelation chapter 9 verse 8, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. Verse 7. He hath laid my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare, and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white. I will explain this later also, as it concerns an activity of the locust creatures, and it's fairly gruesome. Verse 8 to 10 talks of lamenting again, and for those that don't know, lamenting is crying in great sorrow, and verse 9 talks of things being in great shortage, with verses 10 to 12 explaining why. The field is wasted, the land mourneth, for the corn is wasted, and more in verses 11 and 12 with, because the harvest of the field is perished, and the trees also don't have any fruit. All of this, of course, warns of great destruction and food shortages, and it's due solely to this invasion and its huge mass of powerful troops. And if their huge teeth are anything to go by, their ferocious appetite. Verses 13 to 15 talks of gathering people together in their sorrow, because they realize that the great and terrible day of the Lord is upon them. Verse 17 talks again of the destruction caused by this invasion and all of the storage houses and barns being smashed up. Verse 18 mentions all the grazing cattle that don't have anything to feed on and are therefore also struggling to survive. Verse 19. For the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burned all the trees of the field. With verse 20 also mentioning the fire and flame. The fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. These flames and fires are not actual fire as we know it though. It's symbolic flame or picture language, which I will explain later. Chapter 2 starts with all the people sounding off warnings, and then we have verse 2. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. This is exactly the same event as in Revelations 9 verse 2, as the smoke of a great furnace and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. These two both talk of this one great day when everything all kicks off very quickly, on that invasion day. It's all kicked off when in the spirit realm the fifth angel blows his trumpet and a great star falls from heaven, opening the bottomless pit. It continues with, a great people and a strong. There has never ever been the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Once again making mention of this great and powerful nation of people that have come here for this terrible and one-off destructive purpose. Verse 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yes, and nothing shall escape them. Making mention again of this fire and flame, and also in verse 4, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses and of horsemen, so they shall run. This is the very same description from Revelations 9 verses 16 to 19. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and of brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths, for their power was in their mouth. The flame and fire, and the descriptive term, the appearance of horsemen, is picture language again. The fire and flame describes the all-consuming and devouring power of this army's assault, the nature of fire. The power is in their mouth, tells us that this 200 million strong invading army will destroy everything in front of them with their mouths. This is why we are given the frontal picture of breastplates of fire. As for the horseman imagery, picture, if you will, an enormous herd of horses seen from way above or from a distance. This army will move just like a sweeping herd of horses across a plain, all sticking together and swarming from left to right in one great mass. 200 million troops in a collective gallop, being led from the front. They will also be arrayed in ancient battle armour, breastplates, helmets, with swords and maybe even shields. Verse 5 mentions they will be in battle array. Now I can tell you what the Father told me when praying for the identity of the locusts. He told me this: they ate everything in their path, laying to waste as they went to and fro. So the name locust is both a nickname given to these creatures because of their previous behaviour, and how in Earth's ancient history they once before ate everything in their path. Once they had eaten the cattle, they started eating people. Also because they will arrive via flying vessels and destroy everything only when they have landed, just like a swarm of locusts does. Also in Revelations 9 verse 9, the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle, is a metaphor for a people in flight rather than actually flying in the air. The sound of their running around is like a